It is a big one, Brenden. Friday, May 9th, 2025. Those of you that keep track of the dates, got a lot to cover today. Got the Roundtable, Doug Dean, Birmingham, Frank Duffy over in Big Canoe, north of Atlanta in the beautiful mountains. Kevin Scarbinsky in Birmingham. Brenden is in Ocala, horse capital of the world. Take that, Kentucky. Boom! And I'm in Memphis. Lot to cover today. Take a picture with your phone with the QR code. We broadcast live 7 different formats, channels, X, YouTube, and Facebook. And so we're building this channel here, SEC Sidelines Sports Network. Brenden is going to tell you how and what all is on there. But we are your one-stop shop, turnkey for content on the SEC and college sports. We're doing it all the time, Brenden.
Yeah, we are, and it's exciting. We've got some of those guys sitting in our green room right now. We'll flash up how you can get involved right here, right now. YouTube's a great way to subscribe because you get all the podcasts and all the information. It's all right in one place. Go ahead and click on the QR code right here. We are on, live all the time. These teams these days with great shows, great content coming at you 2 to 3 times a day live. Not to mention, you can go back and watch all of our content there for free. So just click on the QR code and subscribe, and you will be a part of what we're doing here, which we're covering the SEC and beyond, like kudzu and cotton.
We cover sports in the South like kudzu and cotton.
Kudzu. I don't know what kudzu is, but
it's a big weed. It's like ivy, but it takes over.
Kudzu.
Yeah. It was brought over here years ago from Japan by people at the Auburn University College of Agriculture. Thank you, Auburn.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. My backyard's covered in this stuff.
But hey, they're also the same people that eradicated the boll weevil, which helped the cotton farmers. And if you go to Enterprise, Alabama, what is on the town square? A giant boll weevil. And Kevin, you know that from being down in the Wiregrass. And you know what, Kevin? Somebody put it in perspective on Wednesday's AU Undercover show. Your adult life, you've grown up in the South. Although you were born, I think, as a junior in high school, you moved from Pottsville, PA to Troy, Alabama. But you've been down here for longer than you lived up there. But I thought about that. But
yeah, that's why I'm a damn Yankee, Rob, because I came and stayed.
No,
I came and stayed. Actually, it was after I graduated from high school, moved from Pottsville to Ozark, Alabama, which is 30 miles from Troy. You talk about culture shock.
I bet.
It took me at least 6 months before I could learn the language to understand what everyone was saying. Well, because I spoke a different form of English than most of the
Scarbo. You're a Southerner now, Scarbo.
Probably took you a year to figure out grits.
No, I still haven't figured those out.
Look, I worked with Kevin here during great show, by the way. If you haven't seen or watched or listened to Scarbo Knows, it's a great podcast. Kevin does a great job. We did a great show yesterday.
In this writing thing, I think he has a good future.
But Kevin, I'm Southerner by birth, I guess, but from Colorado. Kevin and I we're in the South, non-Southern conversations all the time, so that's good. we bond on that level.
Kevin, Duff, talking about grits. I'll never forget, my uncle from Chicago area came down to Birmingham to visit us, and my mom served up some grits, and he started putting sugar on the grit. He thought it was cream of wheat.
Well, hey, Kevin, I got to ask you, how long was it when you got down here in the South before you had your first dose of boiled peanuts?
Not long after we moved to Ozark, our very friendly neighbors across the street came over one day with a brown paper bag and said, "Do you want some?" Now, this is what my ears heard. "Do you want some bald peanuts?"
Bald.
And I love peanuts. And I didn't know there were hairy peanuts versus bald peanuts. But I thought peanuts. I love peanuts. So I took one bite and I said, "Oh, these are wet."
Yeah.
They're
And they
mushy.
said, yeah, because they're bald. And I didn't realize it took me. I needed a translator to understand that they were saying boiled peanuts. That was the first and the last time I've ever eaten bald or boiled peanuts.
Well, that's the thing I try to tell people when I go to the Grove with my friends at Ole Miss, how nice it is there. I said, no, listen, Auburn folks love tailgating. I said, but a lot of our folks just lay down the tailgate of the pickup truck, sit on the back with a big old bag of boiled peanuts and some cold beer. Man, they're happy as a damn newborn calf. But
Coca-Cola, putting the boiled peanuts in the bottle of Coca-Cola, that was a big deal.
Barbara Mandrell. Hey, guys, I was going to tell you, Kevin, I listened to your whole podcast last night, driving back from Memphis. Got home at 10:30. We had a little football gathering out at Hewlett and Dunn on the square in Collierville, and that was a lot of fun. You know what's cool is getting calls from my friend Jimmy McDavid, I graduated with, who listens to the show a lot of times out on his ranch in Weatherford, Texas. They filmed the show Landman in his neighborhood. He said, you know that mom and the daughter? I go, yeah. He goes, they're everywhere out here. I went,
They're real.
They're real. He goes, but it was cool. Jimmy walked on at Texas. And so we'll get this football conversation started. When we were in high, he went out there and walked on. He that was tough. Fred Akers was the coach. And we're talking about the Texas, and we hear about NIL and all, but you know what? It's still about these kids, and you got to recruit them, you got to develop them, and all. We've forgotten about that. So, Doug, I've seen some incredible content that you've put out today before the show, and Frank and Kevin and Brenden and everybody. So let's talk about who we think the best teams are going to be and these schedules heading into the 2025 season, because there is a lot of meat here. 225 in blue.
Rob, before we do, I want to apologize to my good friend Duffy, that I've got in my backdrop a framed picture of Cam posterizing Patrick Peterson. I apologize, Duffy.
My apologies.
Let me tell you something. He should have had a saddle on. That's how bad he carried Patrick Peterson 40 yards on that freaking play. And we had a shot at y'all. We'd come back. That is still one of the greatest epic moments, I think, of Heisman. You think of these Heismans
that won the Heisman. That was a Heisman play.
That was his moment.
And Peterson, I could make a case best cornerback to come out of the SEC in 20 years.
And he just retired in the NFL. He literally just retired about a month ago.
Anyway, sorry for that digression, Rob.
No, I think this is cool stuff, because I remember that game like it was yesterday. And again, this is a big season coming up.
Which one of our games is going to be like that? Is it Texas? Good grief, Texas. What were you thinking opening with Ohio State?
Well, hold on. Now, we're not on an Auburn-only show right now, so we can't say we.
No, he's talking about Texas and Ohio State.
No we's. It's going to be like
the we was not referring to Auburn. It's we, football fans. Yeah. But Brendan's right. I'm not even going to talk about Auburn this morning. I'm tapped out. But looking at September, guys, I sent you the schedule. Brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got. I mean, there's some. If everyone agrees, put Texas, Georgia, Alabama. Who else you want to add to that mix? The most likely serious contenders to make the playoff.
Yeah.
There are others. Man, you might have only one or two teams come out of September unblemished.
I think Alabama's got a gauntlet. I mean, you have to think Florida State's going to be improved. You got to play a tough Wisconsin team, and look, you got to play Georgia in Athens.
Brutal.
Let me tell you, let old Caleb DeBoer have a struggle, one or two to start. Oh, hell's going to break loose in Tuscaloosa before we hit the October.
To the point where which sounds stupid. The realistic goal for almost every team, I don't care who you are, might be to come out of September 4-1.
Yeah.
Scarbo?
Yeah, we're going to find out if SEC football can live up to SEC basketball, because SEC basketball faced those kind of schedules last year in the non-conference especially, and just dominated.
Yeah.
Dominated the country. So this is certainly a gauntlet that any number of teams are going to have to go through. You mentioned Alabama. If they lose two of their first four, they're going to be people climbing out on ledges across the state.
FSU, Wisconsin, Georgia. God.
And I don't know how good FSU is going to be, but it's a road game. It's the first game. It's Ty Simpson's debut as a starter.
They're going to be.
There's a lot that could go wrong, obviously.
Yes, sir.
And then Brenden, the Gators. I'm really high on Florida this year, but goodness gracious, starting September 13th at LSU, at Miami, they get a week off. Then they have to go back-to-back games. Well, they get Texas at home and then College Station. So you're going to know mid-October what do things look like.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, you're going to know a lot, excuse me, after that Miami game. You got to win the Miami game. It all starts there for the Gators.
I disagree, my producer buddy.
Oh, yeah.
You guys
let's
have
hear
Baton Rouge the week before.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. It's going to be – I'm telling you, be careful.
I think every game is tough in the SEC, Frank. I think going into Baton Rouge and Death Valley is never something anyone overlooks, especially here at Florida. It's just something about that Miami game, just because they had they put it on them so badly last year. It's a statement game. Obviously you want to go into Baton Rouge and come out with a dub, but you got to win that Miami game. Those two first games are really going to set the tone, and we're going to find out how good Florida is. And Lagway's throwing, and he's looking good. A lot of people say he's looking great, looking just fine. So I think it's just keeping him healthy, and I think that's where you got to look at the offensive line. You got to see how they've improved, and so it's going to be an interesting year because it really does. It's Lagway or bust.
And peek over at Oklahoma, who's a lot of people think are going to be greatly improved this year. They should be as bad as they were last year, along with Auburn. But
Michigan and Auburn. Second
game, Michigan, and then I don't think they're going to look at Auburn as a layup type of game. I mean, I'd expect them to be favored in Norman. But that should be a 4-quarter game. So
but after last year, Auburn's going to want to come in and take retribution for having that y'all had them beat.
Well,
and Auburn's going to come in ready to play in Norman.
And don't leave out. I call me crazy, but I think Jackson Arnold might be a little bit motivated for that game.
Yeah. He absolutely will be, to show Oklahoma what they let get away. The key, and Doug, looking at the screenshot that you sent earlier, one of the keys to this, guys, is, and this is where Florida's at a disadvantage, is notice it's a hopscotch schedule. You get the tough game, then you get the breather, then you get the tough game, then you get the breather.
Oreo.
Florida does not have that. LSU, Baton Rouge, the very next week, Miami. Then they get an
great gauntlet.
Off week. Oh, and then here comes Texas. Oh, and then after that, let's go to College Station. So
Florida was kind of front-loaded last year, weren't they?
That stretch, they were front-loaded, mid-loaded, and back-loaded. There was no let-up in Florida's schedule last year, and kudos to them that they did improve as the season went along, and they were able to have a winning season and go to a bowl game and win the bowl game. So that's the key in scheduling. Don't play these games back to back to back. That's what's really hard, and that's one of the things, of course, that separates the SEC when you get into conference play.
Georgia goes to Tennessee third week, and then they get a week off. Then they get Alabama in Athens. I mean, guys, I'm not going to be shocked if there's not an undefeated team starting October.
I can't argue with that.
There's so many possibilities in this league, and you talk about. As great as basketball was, Chris Lee, Southeastern 16, said on the show last week, baseball's even better. 14 out of 16 go. Softball is incredible. And now Marty Smith just texted me from ESPN SEC Network, said, if y'all have room, I'd like to jump on for a minute. And I'm like, I think that'd be cool. I like to hear. Yeah. And I'm like going, and I had texted him about coming on with us, and this I'm going to get him to see if he can come on now. And I want to get into this discussion because y'all have at it. What I'm saying, what y'all just said about these games and these schedules. I mean, here it is, May 9th. I'm about to bounce off the walls.
Yeah. We're not even in Destin reading our Athlon or Steel, kickoff books. We're getting close, boys. It's awesome. I'm ready to go. I think it's going to be a fascinating team. I can't wait to see what Tennessee does with their quarterback situation. I mean, there's so many storylines in this year, and we feel like we've got them every year, but there are storylines all over. What's Lane going to do replacing his quarterback? With the high expectations in Oxford, it's just one storyline after Kelly on the hot seat. DeBoer, trying to, keep up the expectations of Alabama fans, which good luck with that. It's all there. And look, Florida. I mean, can they have the storybook finish that they had to last year continue, or do they take a step back? And look, 4 games, there could be 2 or 3 losses in those 4 games. So it's all man. This is gonna be an exciting season, guys.
Dare I say, it almost makes you forget that we declared football screwed up and dysfunctional with NIL and the portal. We're actually going to see great games, it looks like.
Absolutely. And by the way, my idea for Saban for commissioner doesn't seem so crazy anymore, does it? From 2 years ago.
They got the Texas Tech mogul that's going to be on this presidential commission. Saban and that, I forgot his name, that guy. Help me out.
Cody Campbell.
Yes.
Cody Campbell, you were talking, Kevin.
Who made bank.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin, you pointed out last night, 4-year letterman at Texas Tech. We were talking about Texas Tech on this show yesterday. I was just talking about looking at their portal class and their College of Engineering. That's a big, these colleges of engineering, petroleum engineering. Remember why T. Boone Pickens transferred from Texas A&M to Oklahoma State? They had a better college of petroleum engineering. And my friend Glenn Frederickson in Oklahoma City is an Oklahoma State grad. And he said, T. Boone Pickens and I gave $350 million to Oklahoma State. He goes, I gave $5,000. He gave $349,995,000.
And if you think petroleum engineer is hot now, wait till all these kids are seeing the hot mom and the hot daughter on Landman. They're gonna be lining up like they're jackrabbits getting ready to go into Pet E.
Yeah, and Jimmy said they took their favorite bar and they I think they changed it to the Bucket or something like that on that one scene with Billy Bob. Kevin and everybody watching the show, there's so many compelling storylines right now. And, I look at the Saban commissioner, Tommy Tuberville. Is he going to come back? Doug, you talked about it, maybe run for governor. Could we see peace in the Middle East? Is that close, as Doug said? Saving college football. But as we start talking about these games, the synergy and the excitement, I mean, God almighty, man. And I'm telling you, watch this channel, folks, SEC Sidelines Sports Network. Brenden, it's unbelievable. Dukes, Scoops, all this stuff. People, the more you talk about the games and the depth charts and the rosters, Kevin, it's a healing process.
Well, I've always said whenever people have tried to make the case that college football is dying or it's not what it used to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, it all changes on Saturday. It all changes when those players walk out on the field, when they line up, they kick off. The players save the game. Nick Saban is going to do whatever he does, and Cody Campbell's going to do whatever he does. That commission is going to do whatever commissions do. And if you haven't seen, recall Mike Leach's beautiful contrarian rant about committees when he was talking about the College Football Playoff Committee. Committees in America, we love committees. Let's have a committee. Who are we going to put on the committee? I don't know. He's a nice guy. Let's put him on the committee. And what's this committee going to do? They're going to meet at a resort. They're going to hang out. They're going to have dinner together. You really should check it out. I watched it before I wrote a column about that and then talked about it on my podcast yesterday. But it's the games. It's the excitement of the games themselves. We haven't lost that. That's not going away. It's not going to go away. We don't care what the Tennessee quarterback is making when Tennessee's playing Alabama.
That's right.
We only care if he can make enough plays to win the game. So that's a great point that Frank, you've made, Doug, you made that. Yeah, it's all about the games. When the games start, and we're already excited just thinking about the games several months away, and we've got a lot of big events coming up before then. We got the NCAA softball tournament, which should be dominated by the SEC. The SEC baseball tournament with 16 teams for the first time coming to the Hoover Met. Can't wait for that in a couple of weeks. And then, of course, the NCAA tournament beyond. And if the SEC doesn't dominate both the Women's College World Series and the College World Series, it'll be a huge upset. But we can't wait for football. We're all excited. And, again, the possibilities are endless. So many quarterbacks, so many new quarterbacks. Yeah. What's Jackson Arnold going to do at Auburn? What's Ty Simpson going to look like at Alabama? Well, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody knows. Hugh Freeze doesn't know to a certainty. Neither does Kalen DeBoer. That's why LSU has a leg up, because they've got a veteran quarterback. That's why Florida has a leg up. DJ's not a veteran, but we've seen what he can do when he's healthy.
I'm going for the senior hat trick on quarterbacks for Heisman's. I've got one more. I've got one more cherry to come into the third tumbler. Looking forward to. I think he gives us a great chance. I do. But I tell you what, DJ Lagway might be the best out of all of them. Like Brenden was talking about. I mean, he beat us single-handedly last year. He is a phenomenal talent. So you've got him up and down the grades, but when you go into a season in SEC with a senior signal caller and high expectations, you hope that you have a Joe Burrow and a Jaden Daniels sort of year. And Jackson Dart had that last year, and I think Lane's going to miss him a lot. And the crestfallen expectations of Ole Miss last year weighed on them a lot. It could do the same thing for Nussmeier at LSU.
And if you really like compelling SEC games, we're probably very soon going to, if $80 million speaks, we're about to get a 9-game SEC season. I don't know how quickly Kevin can comment.
That's brutal.
In 2020, SEC signed a 10-year deal for $3 billion, and here we are already 5 years later. Essentially, 5 years later, ESPN's willing to pay the league $50 to $80 million more a year to add a 9th game. And the reason I want a 9th game is I think that would coincide. It'd be concurrent. They would go to a 14, possibly 16-team playoff, and that means you can legitimately get a 3-loss SEC team. And you know what? I don't care how tough the league is. If you can't get to 9 wins regular season, do you really have a complaint making the playoff? Depending on who the losses were, who the wins were, but I hope that there'll be this argument and debate about who each team's 3 permanent opponents are. Auburn's clearly going to be Alabama and Georgia. Who's the third one? There's talk of Vandy. I'd rather play Mississippi State. It's a more natural rivalry, if you can call that a rivalry. You got to have more. State needs to win more. And then will it be the 3-6-6 model? So you got 3 permanent, and then one year you play the same 6 teams, the year later the other 6. So what I love about that is every 2 years, you never go more than 2 years playing every other SEC team.
I like that model.
Doug, I like what you said about the 9 games, because by adding 1, it makes the schedule tougher, but it also gives you credibility in the eyes of the playoff committee.
So brutal.
Tony Barnhart was on here.
SEC, oh my!
It is. And Tony Barnhart
Forget
was on
about
here.
it.
Hey, something funny. Tony Barnhart came on Wednesday. He's going to do his farewell tour this year, but he's not going to go away. He's still going to be doing our show and all. He said that he's coming to Memphis and doing his talks, but he said, Kevin, especially you having a master's or working on your master's in journalism, you can always go back to Gainesville. And he said that he was at South Carolina speaking to some journalism students this past year. And one of them said, "But what do you do in the spring, in the off season?" I mean, it's boring. He goes, "What do? I go see coaches. I go visit with them." He goes, "Why do you do that?" He goes, "Because you've got to have investments in the bank of relationship credibility. When you need a coach to talk to you and you need something in a bind, you can call him. Kevin, address that. That's powerful stuff, because relationships are everything. And it's like, if you forget that, you are going to disappear, won't you?"
Well, that's why it's ultimately important in the field of journalism that you have relationships, that you can pick up a phone and call someone and they will either answer or they will call you back, because information is important, because we're in a world of so much disinformation and misinformation. And there's so many ways for it to be disseminated quickly among thousands and millions of people that you better have some really good relationships with people on the inside, especially when something controversial happens. This week, the trial of one of the two young men charged with murder in that tragic shooting in Tuscaloosa 2 years ago during basketball season. Michael Davis is the alleged shooter who killed Jamea Harris, the young mother. A horrible situation. The trial's going on now. So many people jumped to conclusions early. So many people wanted to indict Brenden Miller, who was, of course, the star player for Alabama that year. He came on the scene late that night. He was accused of things he did not do. He was accused of he was slandered, libeled, defamed in so many different ways ahead of the facts, and incorrectly as the facts began to be known. And I was a contrarian in that I, because of my relationships, because of people that I knew who knew what was going on, I was able to report accurately that, hey, tap the brakes here, people. You know, Brenden Miller, look, one young woman has lost her life. We don't need to bury Brenden Miller alive.
Yeah, I agree with you. But let's bring in Marty Smith. And Marty, I've been trying to get you on the show for a while, and thank you so much for. I love the background, Marty. We're big fans of yours. Can you hear us?
I sure can. Let me make sure. Is my mic on?
Yeah, you sound great. Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning. What y'all doing? What y'all talking about? What's everybody doing? How's everybody doing?
Talking
a little college football. What do you think?
And the Roundtable, and just wanted to say to you that watch your show over. I'm over here at the farm, at the Cherry Farm and parking right outside of Memphis, and we watch your show, you and Ryan McGee, on Saturday mornings. I love it. It's the most Southern show on TV. And my late brother-in-law played college football for Virginia Tech, and I got two nieces and a nephew that graduated from Tech. Sister lives in Roanoke. I know you grew up a Hokie, but I love what you bring to TV. You bring a real Southern voice. You're proud of it. You started out in NASCAR. The stronger NASCAR is, the stronger this country is. But you've combined that with football, and it's just awesome stuff. And this is Kevin Scarbinsky, Birmingham, Frank Duffy, Big Canoe, north of Atlanta, and Doug Dean in Atlanta. Our executive producer, Brenden Martin, in Gainesville, has GatorbaitMedia.com. But let's talk SEC football. We want to hear whatever you got to say.
Well, first of all, thank you for an amazingly kind introduction. I appreciate that. And if anybody's watching here, sorry, I look like I'm an extra in Poltergeist. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I have my office windows open, and it's a little blown out. But there's a lot going on in SEC football, and I think first and foremost, the most interesting story of the offseason so far among many is Josh Heupel's willingness to put his foot down on NIL. And to me, made a real statement that this thing is in a position where coaches, administrators believe that players should have the right to make money off of their name and their performance. But at some point, there has to be some sort of governance. And right now, there's just not any governance. It's unregulated free agency. And you're in a position where players are making a fortune and want even more. Specifically in the case of Nico Iamaleava, a really good football player. But at some point, it's program over person.
Yep.
And
jersey over the back.
And that's where Josh got. And so, having spoken with many coaches around the country in the aftermath of that decision, they all believe it was a flashpoint. Now, it's certainly not the first time it's happened. It's just the most public time that it's happened because Nico's a star. And now he'll head off to UCLA as well as his brother. And we'll see how they perform there and what they can do to try to uplift that program, because that program has been in purgatory for a really long time.
Yeah,
it has.
And so, yeah, I mean, to me, that's really what stands out most during this offseason. We'll have SEC the Destin meetings here coming up and hear what all those coaches have to say about where they believe we are with all of this and the settlement and where that stands and player entitlement and revenue sharing at the player level with the TV revenue. It's just, I called it the Wild West many years ago and got chastised for that, but I still believe that applies. I still think it's the Wild West.
No doubt.
Marty, Doug D in Birmingham, honored to talk to you. And I think of Marty Smith. I think of unchained enthusiasm on a Saturday, which we all love. If you assume, as I do, if you're looking at the $50 to $80 million lure the ESPN's throwing the SEC, that we will go to 9 games, who knows what year. Do you think that is it automatic that the playoff will expand to 14, maybe 16 teams? And how do you see the SEC, going through that kind of gauntlet and getting at least 3, sometimes 4 teams in the playoff? Your thoughts on that direction?
8's hard enough. I'll be fascinated to see what ultimately happens here with potentially expanding the conference schedule. As for the playoff, I just look at it as inevitable that it's probably going to expand even further.
All the money.
Yeah, I mean, when we went to journalism school, when we studied media at the respective universities at which we attended, we were told in all those journalism classes that the 2 pillars were fairness and accuracy. That is accurate.
Yep.
But follow the money is right in there at 1A. And there's a lot of money to be made. I mean, we sit here and bellyache about everything that's broken in college sports. And then you look at the playoff when it expanded to 12 teams, and my goodness, wasn't it thrilling?
Yes, it was.
It was so fun to watch. It was so fun to cover. It was so fun to be a part of it and to see it. And I think that the SEC is positioned beautifully. Greg Sankey, to me, is the best leader in all of sport. He is so smart and so measured and so thoughtful in the way that in his decision-making process. And he always engages presidents, chancellors, head coaches. He's present at events. And I don't say that as somebody who is ingrained in the Southeastern Conference and the Southeastern Conference Network. I say that as somebody who's a national reporter and is all over the country in every league.
Yep.
I marvel at what he does and how he does it.
Yep. Kevin?
I'm curious.
No, go ahead, guys.
And every school obviously has its own pressures, its own expectations. But as a league, with the Big Ten having won the last 2 national championships with Michigan and Ohio State, is there a little extra pressure on the SEC to have one team step up? Because we're already hearing people talk about Penn State, that they're the next team that has loaded up, put all their chips in the middle of the table, and they are the next Big Ten team that could make that run. James Franklin still has to prove he can win a big game, obviously, but I'm just wondering, and again, because of Marty, before you came on, we've been looking at the schedules and just the brutality of the schedules just in the month of September that SEC schools have to face.
Well,
does it make it more challenging for the SEC to win the national championships it's won? Because now you've got more playoff games. You're probably going to go to 16. That'll be another playoff game. And it reduces your odds of one league maybe being dominant.
The SEC is the toughest league. It's the most difficult gauntlet. And that's, to me, indisputable.
No doubt.
Now, the Big Ten has some fantastic programs, and they're always in the mix, whether that's Ohio State, the defending national champions. You mentioned Penn State. It's huge for Coach Franklin that Drew Aller decided to come back to school and and develop for another season. But they lose Tyler Warren on one side of the ball. They lose Abdul Carter on the other side of the ball. So do they reload, or do they have guys that are that good? I mean, you're talking about 2 first-round draft picks, and not just first-round draft picks, but well, I don't remember where Warren went. I think 7 or 9 or something like that, and Carter went 3. So you're talking about 2 top 10 players that you're losing, both great weapons. So what does that look like for Coach Franklin? And especially in a league where Ryan Day is bleeping loaded, bro.
Yeah. Covered full.
They certainly lose a lot of talent. They lost a lot of really talented linemen. They lose their quarterback. They lose their lifeblood with Jack Sawyer on the edge on the defensive side.
Yeah.
But they also still have Caleb Downs. They still have Jeremiah Smith. They have Julian Sayin, who transferred over from Bama and can just flat rip.
The 3 deep, everything.
But the SEC is the best top to bottom league. And I would not want to – I mean, coaching in the SEC would be so hard because you're facing elite talent on Saturday, and then you're beat up on Sunday. You're trying to recover while work on Monday, and then you turn on the tape and go, holy bleep, we got to play them now?
Yeah. Marty, one of the things we heard –
it's merciless.
Yeah, I wanted to throw something to you. This week, Tony Barnhart was on, and we had discussion about the enthusiasm. And what you just said, not even the adults can ruin college football. Tennessee's waiting list for season tickets, 27,000. Alabama, it was reported 32,000. Auburn selling them out. And I reminded him back when I was in school at Auburn in the 80s, the 1984 CFA, Oklahoma and Georgia sued for the right to get the games on TV. You could only have maybe a couple of games on Saturdays. I forgot what we did on Saturdays back then, but it's going to ruin the game. My 96-year-old dad is watching right now, and he's a big fan of yours because he said, I love that guy because you are the eternal optimist, and I love your energy, and we cannot ever lose you and Ryan McGee. My wife is a Vol for life. My oldest daughter's Alabama. The rest of us are Auburn. That's how we live down here. But talk about that enthusiasm that people are not talking about. Roman Harper said a few weeks ago, he goes, I listen and I read and I hear other people's things, but I don't let their opinions become my opinions. I think on my own. You're right in that school. Thank you, son. This is awesome.
Well, first of all, Harp is amazing. He's a great friend and just an icon in the league. And I'll tell you specifically quickly when it comes to him, he's somebody from whom I've learned a great deal. Not just about ball, and I've learned a lot of ball from him. It's like a master class. We'll be in our production meetings for SEC Nation and whatnot on a Friday afternoon in Oxford or Knoxville, and I'll be like, man, I think that X team is susceptible here. I think underneath they can get beat. And he's like, let me show you something. And he'll turn on the tape and go, here's why you're wrong. Here's why you're wrong. Here's why you're wrong. Here's why you're wrong. I've just learned so much ball from him. But above that, I've learned a lot about the human spirit. He is so kind to everybody and welcoming to everybody. And for somebody who's a Super Bowl, but somebody of his pedigree and resume to treat everyone the way he does is so inspiring. And I love him like a brother. And now, as an aside, I want to talk about that buck that's over Doug's right shoulder. That's what I want to talk about.
Yep, that was a blind squirrel finding an acorn.
That's a hoss right there, Chief.
Yeah, it was a Bow Kill, and I wish I could tell you it was in Central Alabama. Had to go to Illinois for one like that.
Yeah, they don't grow them like that down here very often. But I'm impressed. I like hunting with a bow way better than I like hunting with a rifle.
You have an open invitation to my 2,000 acres in Central Alabama. Anytime
you got 2,000?
It's a lease. It's on the Cahaba River.
Awesome.
And we have a lot of fun. We'd love to have you in camp. That'd be great.
Yeah, I got 500 about 15 minutes west of Virginia Tech, where I grew up.
Ooh, nice.
My family, my grandparents bought it after the war, my dad's parents, and we love it up there, man.
I guess you saw Metallica at Virginia Tech.
Of course I did. And it was a hard decision for me to not go. I really wanted to do it just to be a part of it and to see that, because I can't describe to you. I was saying to my friends yesterday, we were discussing it, and what that means for our region, for Metallica to invest in going to the New River Valley like that, and to put 75,000 people in Lane Stadium, which only holds 66, and for the Richter scale to be unleashed as a result of them being there. Like that stuff just doesn't happen where I grew up. Yeah. Like that. It's unheard of. It's almost unprecedented. I remember when I was 10 years old, we had this. I grew up in a town called Parisburg, Virginia, and we had this festival in our town called Festival Around Town. And it was right when Randy Travis broke. I think it was On the Other Hand he put out. Oh, on the other hand, there's a golden band. He put that song out. And I'll be damned, Randy Travis came to my high school. And I mean, it's like, I still can't believe that's real, but it's kind of the same thing. Like massive artists like Metallica that are Hall of Fame talent, that have toured all over the world, that have an historic catalog, come to Blacksburg. It just means a lot, and we're grateful. My dogs are about to go crazy. My wife's got a closet guy, kind of like a guy
Good job, Brenden.
redo our closets. But
Blacksburg
producer Brenden comes through.
Look at that. I mean, there's my dog's ain't big as a popcorn fart. There's I've been everywhere, and you guys have too. Saturday night in Death Valley, jump around in Camp Randall, running down the hill at Clemson. There are incredible traditions running through the T in Knoxville, but it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat Exit Light in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Marty, have you been in Jordan Hare for an Iron Bowl?
I sure have. I was actually there for grave digger. Wow. But it's and that place is so loud too. It's what makes college football the greatest sport to me. It's that intersection where tradition meets bloodline, meets intensity, meets expectation, meets dreams, meets nightmares. And there's just nothing better.
Marty, you grew up on Smith Mountain, and Blacksburg is Duke University's campus on a mountain. You got snow skiing up there. I've been up there a lot. It's one of the prettiest campuses I have ever been to. And you talk about the New River Valley. My brother-in-law for 41 years worked for Dominion Bank, and then it was First Union, then Wells Fargo, and he was a trust officer. He built relationships. You ever heard of a little town called Rich Creek, Virginia? Yeah, that's where. Okay.
It was. I mean, I could have hit a 7-iron to Rich Creek.
And Rick grew up there. 5 brothers and sisters out in the country. I love that part of the country. My grandfather and his father and great all went to VMI. So a lot of that is such a. My mother, when she dies, wants to have a third of her ashes in the Blue Ridge Parkway, the Shenandoah Mountains, the other third in Auburn, the other third on the beaches of 30A. So that's just
you got a logistical challenge.
She's got y'all running. That's good.
Good luck with that.
I appreciate her just spreading the wealth, I guess.
Hey, gents, I've got to cut out. Y'all are in great hands with Scarbo and Marty, Duff, Rob. Y'all have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you so much, Doug.
See you, Dean.
I love this discussion, so let's keep going.
Well,
Rich Creek is so when I was growing up, we had 7 teams, Top Warner Football League.
Wow.
And one of those teams was the Rich Creek Lions.
Yeah.
And the Rich Creek Lions were they had a lot of talent, which wound up going to Nares High School.
Yeah.
Which was our crosstown arch rival. I went to Giles High School. And that hatred, that's another thing that makes, well, this is a tangent we won't get off on, but high school football where I grew up, other sports are recreational.
Yeah.
Football is religion. Football's an expectation.
Yep.
You just know, like, I'm going to play high school football because my town depends on me. My father expects it of me.
Sure.
And we beat Nares' ass.
Love it.
That was 30 years ago.
Monday morning.
What's that?
I said you have to face people in school on Monday morning. You can't lose to that rival.
And you guys know this. I mean, this is kind of a universal truth nationally for us. It doesn't matter. Like, high school football is this universal language for those that played it. Whether you're in Compton, California, or you're in Miami, Florida, or you're in Maine, or you're in Appalachia, or you're in the North, wherever. Like, there's this unique language and unique fraternity about what it means to the towns you represent. And you're carrying them on your back. And I know that was the case for us. Yeah. I was just with Shane Beamer at the Kentucky Derby. And Shane is a great friend and has been since we were teenagers, playing every sport against each other. And we were laughing about that, about, like, dude, can you believe what we carried? Like, we carried so much and we kind of knew it, but we didn't really know it till we were a little older.
Yeah. Town pride.
Yes, sir. In a huge way.
Well, you know, let me say this, and Marty, that enthusiasm that you bring. There's so many people out there that want to push this negative narrative, you know. And Brad Bellamy, he's one of the general manager of one of our sponsors, Landers Ford here in Memphis. We were having a little gathering last night out at one of our sponsors, Hewlett and Dunn, talking college football. We need your voice, and I hope. I mean, you're a young guy. I'd say, I don't know, late 30s, early 40s, maybe at the max. You're hopefully going to be around a long time. We got to have this. You know, I keep talking about my fortune cookie I got from Panda Garden last week. Optimists believe we're living in the best of times. Pessimists fear this is true. You know, that's keep waxing eloquently. I know we won't keep you too long, but this is what we need more of. My phone's lighting up like a Christmas tree. People going, we got to get this guy back on. And
the comments are probably some of the biggest we've had, Rob. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. I do think that in many ways, but I am a very optimistic person. I'm an optimist because my blessings abound. I have a beautiful wife. We're going to celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary in a week. Wow. I have 3 healthy children. I have a job that's challenging every single day, and it's challenging due to wonderful and at times overwhelming diversity. It's so funny. I was all golf all the time from the time college football ended all the way through the Masters. And then I shifted to the NFL draft where I was doing a story on a young man named Jack Besh, who got drafted by the Vegas Raiders. They start camp today. I'm so happy for him. And then now I'm switching. I had to do the Kentucky Derby, so I had to do this crazy crunch time study on horse racing and engage with Bob Baffert and Todd Pletcher and Steve Asmussen and all of those guys, D. Wayne, Lucas. And now I'm back to golf because next week here in Charlotte, we have the PGA.
Yeah.
But what an incredible blessing to be challenged every day. That to me is invigorating because it wards off complacency. Complacency is the greatest threat to excellence, to quote Nick
You're having
Saban.
Walter Mitty-esque sort of life.
Yeah.
And you're observant enough to appreciate it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Brad? I'm so full of gratitude. So yeah, I am an optimist, and that's not going to change. I'm just, I don't, when you grow up working every day on a cattle farm and you hate it so deeply, and then you grow up and you realize the intrinsic value of waking up before dawn, getting your hands dirty, building something with your hands, your dad yelling at you,
no doubt,
telling you you're lazy, you got to be more self-accountable. And then you get to go to the Masters. Like, that ain't work. It's a lot of hours, but it ain't work. And so my blessings and my gratitude are immeasurable.
Brad, jump in here. This is right.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice to see who I pop on the call with on Friday morning. So, hey, Marty, Brad Bellamy, General Manager at Landers Ford. Rob, thanks for having me. Great month last month, and appreciate all the support from you and your viewers. Employee pricing continues, and so does the Built for America campaign, and we've had a lot of momentum coming out of that. So, Marty, I'll ask you one quick question since I'm on here with you. I mean, I love watching you do the broadcast all the way from even when you did NASCAR. What has been your most favorite, just event to cover and experience that you've had as part of that event? I think we all in life, I mean, especially for me, I've gotten to do things I never thought I would get to do. Going to the Masters and going to the Kentucky Derby are two things I haven't gotten to do yet, but are on the top of my bucket list. But I feel blessed every day. You just mentioned that about being able to do what you get to do. What would you say has been your favorite experience that you've had in one of these events?
Well, that's a difficult question. I say often that my favorite sport to cover is college football. And one of the reasons that it's my favorite sport is I'm a storyteller. That is what I am. It's what I do. It's what I care most deeply about. I love the opportunity to take someone's story, to ask them their truth, and to receive the responsibility of sharing that truth with proper spirit. Yeah. I want to be a great steward of the spirit of the people. And that is a huge responsibility, and it's a great blessing. And so I love covering college football and having the wonderful platform that is College Game Day to tell those stories. So there's that. My favorite event is the Masters. My favorite day is the Kentucky Derby. So I just, again, man, I'm not blowing smoke that I can't believe that I get to do all of it. I mean, I hope it doesn't sound conceited, because it's supposed to be the antithesis of that. I mean it. I can't believe it. And so, yeah, like being there to cover Justify. Like I won't go on too many tangents here, but like standing on the 18th green when Tiger Woods came back from the abyss of having to have his back fused, all of those years of incredible pain where he couldn't get out of bed, had to be helped to the bathroom, couldn't be a present father. These are his words, not mine, by the way, in an interview I did with him in 2018. He felt like an absent father. He couldn't play Legos in the floor with Charlie. He couldn't kick a soccer ball around in the backyard with Sam. He had to lay on the ground and watch them do it because his back hurt so bad. And then to have it fused and just be like, all right, I guess I'm giving up on this. And then to have the initiative and the conviction to completely relearn how to shape golf shots because your back doesn't work like it used to. And then to win Eastlake, and then to come back and win Augusta, and to be standing there on 18 when he did it, and there's people all the way down 18, all the way down 9, all the way down 1, losing their minds with irreverence in the way that Augusta is never irreverent.
Yeah.
Style of the British Open, which Augusta would never let happen unless it was Tiger Woods in his reclamation year.
Just crazy. I'm still processing that all these years later. And
you know what's cool, Marty, is that you also get to do it on a cyclical basis. I've been to about 20 Kentucky Derbies. I was there last weekend. The feeling that you get when those gates open, those 2 minutes, the exhilaration, your heart is pounding before they open. But here's the great thing about sports. We get to do it every year if we're fortunate. And you have that ability of having that front row seat and having a microphone. I mean, like I said, I use the words Walter Mitty. You've had a Walter Mitty-esque life, but you get to have it. Where am I going next? Like you said, up the Phalanx, Masters to the Derby, to Quail Hollow, which you're going to be, covering for golf. I mean, it's just you do live a blessed life, and what's great about it is, I'm assuming a man of Christ, which I'm assuming you are. You know that is a blessing for you, and you that
I do. I am a believer. I am a believer, and thereby I believe it's written. But I also, not to go too far off into a preachy state here, Luke 12:48 says, "To whom much is given, much is required." And I think as a result of that, much is required of me, my family, my blessings. I think that you have to
platform
again, like when you've been afforded. And it's a responsibility to have this type of platform. And all of these people, like in this season, this moment in my life, I am so transfixed on this story about Tiger Besh.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see in that, again, poltergeist light, but when Tiger was killed on Bourbon Street by that terrorist, it was him that really crystallized for me. I was covering the Sugar Bowl. We were there with SEC Nation and the Georgia Bulldogs. And my boss called. I'd gone to bed really early on New Year's Eve. I remember talking to my wife at like 9:30 at night, saying, "I love you." I just didn't feel good. And next thing I remember was my phone ringing off the table, and it was my boss. Basically like, "What's up, man? Why are you calling me so early?" And he's like, "I just want to make sure you're okay." I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Turn on the news. Don't go anywhere. I'll call you later." Turn on the news, and I'm learning what happened on Bourbon. Well, the next day, I saw Jack Besh's tweet about Tiger. And I had known Jack just a little bit from his LSU days. And we connected, and for reasons I'll never understand, that family trusted us to share their truth. And now we've done 3 different stories with that family. We did Tiger at the national championship. We did Ryan Quigley, his best friend, who was also hit by that truck.
Yep.
On the Super Bowl pregame show after he was invited by the Philadelphia Eagles to be their guest. And then we just did Little Brother for the NFL draft. And they are my family now.
Yep.
They are people that have impacted my life deeply, and millions and millions and millions and millions of people deeply by deciding to have the vulnerability to hurt in the public sector. And I'll never understand why they trusted us, but I'm grateful they did, and we have built an impenetrable bond as a result.
We know them from Lafayette. They're the every American family that could have been. They happen to be sadly in that position, but they represent every one of our families that could have been in that position on New Year's morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Yeah, Marty, listen, we got to wrap up. Stay in that time frame. My producers reminded me, Brenden Martin, but what a treat! Thank you so much. Please, let's do it again. And Kevin and Brad, Frank, Doug, Brenden, everybody. It's one of the best treats we've ever had, and makes me feel so good about the future. What matters most is how much you care about people. So I'll close this show like I do every one of them Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Mother Teresa said it best. We can all do something. We don't have to do everything. We can all do something. Make a difference, everybody. Share the show. Thanks for watching.
Thank you guys for having me.
Good show, guys.
That was awesome.